Welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV, and we're fishing in Yorkshire today with Paul Kazira at this beautiful Lindley Wood reservoir, which is just outside Otley. So tell us a bit about the venue, Paul.
Well, a friend of mine pointed me this way, James, and I've come here to test this, or to try this new whip you gave me last week, and I've been told it's stuffed full of roach and perch, hybrids, and there's a few bream swimming about as well, just at the whip length. So I thought it's an ideal place just to try it out because I'm so excited about it.
Well, it's absolutely spectacular venue, isn't it?
Oh, it's
so
fantastic.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And as you say, I mean, you've plumbed up, and it's quite surprising on this peg how much depth you've got. So I think it's going to be great to fish the whip here. You've set two different lengths up, haven't you? 6 metres and 9 metres.
Correct, yeah.
And well, like you say, I know a lot of your friends fish here, and they've been doing really well on the whip, haven't they?
They've been absolutely bagging, James. You know, really good catches of roach, and quite a few have been getting the hybrids, and you know, and they go up to £2. So if we can get one or two of those today, it's going to test that whip out properly.
Brilliant. Well, we launched the whips 2 weeks ago, and they've been received really well, and I think it's fair to say that whip fishing has become really popular in recent times for matchmen, hasn't it? For us on our circuit down in the Midlands, on the Y and the 7 in particular, whip fishing's become a really important method. What about the venues you fish, Paul? Where do you use a whip?
Oh, it's, as you say, James, it's taken off. We use the whip up north where I fish on the Tyne and the tees, and especially the tees now. It's the tees has changed now from the bream fishing, which it was a few years ago, to loads of small fish.
Yeah.
And this beauty here is going to come into play when I go up there and fish those matches, which I'm looking forward to. The catching 20 pounds plus of decent roach, you know, and plenty of skimmers to be had on that line. So it's going to be really advantageous to use that. Nice and slim, I love it.
Yeah.
Just at first view.
Just a quick sort of introduction about the CP200 whip itself. It's a true 9 metre whip, and it's quite different in terms of relating it to other whips on the market in that it's a dedicated long whip. So what we did was we made the top 5 metres telescopic, and then you've got 3 long extensions to take it up to 9 metres. And the reason we did that was we tried using the sort of standard configuration, which is a top 3 and then metre sections to take it up to 8 and 9 metres, and we found it was very difficult to get a well-balanced, lightweight, slim and strong whip. So that's why we came up with our engineers with this configuration. It's worked really well because even at the full 9 metres, it's well balanced, it's not heavy, it's got a wonderful action, and it's very strong. And of course, the kind of fishing that we're doing with this whip on the rivers that we talked about, and perhaps when you're fishing on the lochs in Ireland and the rivers over on the continent, it needs to be strong because you're using sometimes bigger floats and catching big fish quickly. So that's the whole concept about it, Paul. And I'd say you've set up with 6 metres, so you've got 5 metres telescopic and the 1 extension.
Yes, yeah.
On one line.
Yeah.
And then you've gone 9 metres to hand on the other one. And I noticed that you've just gone straight onto the flick tip on both the whips.
Yeah, I do prefer flick tips, James, and it's very rare I use elastic on the whip, really.
Yeah.
Because to me, the reason of the whip is you fish it to hand, you want to hook the fish, and you want to get them straight to you.
Yeah.
Or straight to you or your net, you know, depending on the size.
Yeah.
And elastic hampers me a bit.
Yeah.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know.
Well, it's exactly my sort of theory as well. I like the flick tip because a lot of the time when you're actually casting a float, you need some action from the pole. And I think sometimes if you do take the top out and fit elastic, you can struggle sometimes with some of the lighter rigs that we might be using. And like you say, the great thing for me with the flick tip is when you have a fish and you're playing it and bringing it to hand, it comes in at the same height and speed every time. sometimes elastic you can get some play on it, and you know, it can be a struggle to swing in.
You know where the fish is going to be. You know, whatever size that fish is, you know in the water when it gets to you where it's going to be. A small fish into your chest, or a larger one to your net. But with the elastic, I find when you get that kick, the fish moves, and you miss it swinging it in, or you can mess it up at the net. So,
but I mean, having said that, so the pole comes supplied with a solid carbon flick tip.
Yeah.
We do sell the top 3 separate. They're under £40, so they're really competitive. And you can elasticate them. I think you can either elasticate it where the carbon tip's spliced into the hollow tip. Yeah. Perhaps if you're going to use a 6, 2 or 8 elastic. Yeah. And then if you wanted to go with a stronger elastic like a Hydro Black or a 12 elastic, then I think you can actually take the whole tip out and bush directly onto that. Because I mean, there is still a place for that. I know on the Y, sometimes when I'm fishing and I'm expecting to hook some bonus fish like big perch, maybe even chub and barbel, having a top kit with an elastic is a good option as well. So that's what we felt. We wanted it to be a dedicated long whip. So some people might think it's a bit strange to have 5 meters telescopic, but I mean, we all carry whips that are shorter and dedicated for that style of fishing.
That's right. Yeah.
So for me, I think we've got the sort of the balance absolutely right, and I can't wait to see you put it into action and through its paces today.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, James. Yeah, and I can't wait to get a few fish on it.
Get stuck in.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Paul started fishing. I'm just going to explain a bit more about the tips that are supplied with the CP200 whip. So I mentioned about the fact that it was a solid carbon flick tip, and you can see that it's a lovely fine tip at the top. It's actually 0.8 of a millimetre at the tip, and it blends quite quickly through this solid carbon tip section and then into the hollow section where it's actually glued and whipped in place for strength. And I really quite like how Paul has connected his rig to the tip. There's obviously different ways of doing it, and Paul's used 2 bits of silicone. He's tied the line behind the back one and then twisted it around the tip, and then he's got another section of silicone that's sort of fixing that in place with a little bit overlapping just to prevent tangles. But what I really like about what Paul's done is, I think you've used some 50, is that 15-pound line, Paul?
Yeah, and anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds ideal for that, James. Yeah.
So that's permanently on the tip, and then you put a knot in the end where he then attaches with a, the sort of double loop crow's foot attachment.
That's correct.
So that he doesn't have to keep doing that every time he wants to put his rig on. And obviously, if you want to change a rig, you can do it relatively easily.
Same as the pole, yeah.
So that's a really popular way of doing it. I think the advantage is it's very neat, doesn't tangle too much, and it doesn't add any weight to the whip. My preference really, Paul, is I like to use these Stomfo connectors. So that's glued in place on the end of the carbon tip, and it's a simple, sort of Stomfo arrangement where you've got this hook, you loop from your rig goes on that, and then you push the sleeve up. So,
very quick and easy, yeah.
I think actually what I would do is, if I was fishing it the full flick tip like you, I'd use your method. But I've actually cut this mine back about, I don't know, what's that, 6-8 inches.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm fishing a lot on rivers like the Y and the Severn, where I'm using heavier rigs and catching perhaps bigger fish than you are.
Yeah, we know that, don't we, James? Yeah, we do, yeah.
No, but I think it just shows it's great, you can adapt the whip to your venue, your style of fishing.
Yep.
And obviously, like I said before, these top 3 kits are available to buy at a really good price. So I think most anglers will actually have 2 or 3 different setups with the flick tips and with the elastic, and just to suit their style.
Yeah, which is a good idea, yeah, absolutely.
Come on then, Paul, catch us a fish.
What, like that?
Oh, just don't cue. What? This it's nodding a bit like a perch.
It's nodding a bit like a proper fish. Nodding more like. I'm not going to say what it is because.
Nah. Let's get it in the net first. I'll move that pole out the way now so you can get your landing net.
Oh.
Looks like, is it a bream or a big hybrid? Oh, it's a beautiful bream, Paul.
It's a bream. That's all over that all that ground bait I was putting
I'll tell you what that's displaying though is just how beautiful the action is. You know, that nice fine carbon tips bending beautifully into the whip, and I think, I don't want to speak too soon, but it can just demonstrate what you can do when you're fishing a whip in terms of the size of the fish and bonus fish that you can land.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyway, I'll shut up now because I don't want to.
You don't want to put the mockers on it.
I don't want to jinx it.
I don't want to pull too hard on it and pull out of it.
They normally have another go, don't
I know,
they?
they're kicking a bit. I've noticed with every fish that I've hooked here, it's they do fight well.
Well, it's great that looks like you've got it beat.
Yeah, we'll get him eventually. We're not panicking.
I like your style, Paul.
Oh.
Hey,
there we go.
Well done. How about that? Just on cue.
The circus has landed. Oh. He's a proper fish, that one.
Well, let's have a look at that bream, Paul. What a slab.
That has made my day, James.
And it's almost straight away as well, so it's just showing what a phenomenal venue this is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to give you, I think I'm going to have to give you £4 for that one, Paul.
It's a beauty, isn't it, James? Yeah.
What hook length were you using, just out of interest?
That's an 012 fluorocarbon hook length.
Yeah. And what size hook?
B560, size 16, and a double red maggot.
Absolutely wonderful. So it just proves that you can land bonus fish on a flick tip on a whip like this.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to possibly getting a few more of these.
Good skills, Paul.
I'm going to bully the next one to see what the whip does. You know.
We got it in the net. That's the main thing.
We just wanted to get it in the net. Yeah. It's a fantastic fish.
So, Paul, you started off on the 6 metre whip to hand.
Yep.
And what size float's that?
It's a 1 gram, James, this float, because we set off and there was no wind at all. I thought it'd be just perfect for it. But the wind now is starting to get up. I might be changing soon.
It's a nice looking float. It's a Dave Harrell number 4 bollo. It's actually working really well on the whip, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's perfect for slow rivers as well.
It's got a carbon stem, which I think is always a great advantage when you're whip fishing.
Yeah.
It doesn't tangle up so much when you're casting
round,
out.
That's correct, yeah.
And it's got a nice, decent thick tip on it, because you're fishing it quite positive really. You've just got, what, that 2 number 8s down?
Yeah, I've got 2 number 8s down.
Yeah.
And just the olivet, probably 18 inches from the hook.
Well, I think that's where this method really scores. You know, it's an efficient way of fishing, isn't it? A great way of catching good bags of fish quickly.
Yeah, especially when you've got a depth like this, you're getting the rig down to the bottom where the fish are, because we ground baiting. Oh, missed that bite.
And it is a good depth. You've got to be talking 14 foot there. I mean,
yeah, it's a good depth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll just change that, because if we want to get a bream or something, we need fresh maggots on.
And you're not, I mean, obviously because it is deep, even on the 6 metre whip, you've only got about 3 foot, 4 foot of line from the float to the tip.
Yeah.
So you're just simply underarming it out.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you know, you're getting some great presentation. Just kind of holding the float against the wind a bit, yeah?
That's exactly it, James, yeah.
Do you sometimes cast overhead with a whip as well?
Very rare. I do when I'm using a waggler, which when I came today, I set a waggler up on the 9 metre whip, thinking it was only maximum 10 foot deep. That's what I was told. But we found out since
it's more like 25 foot.
It's 25 foot, and then I will cast overhand, and that's overhead, should I say,
Yeah.
and that is when that flick tip and everything and the soft action at the top really comes in, because you're just casting like a rod, and it goes out great. But
well, this peg today, now you've plumbed up, it's you can see we're on quite a steep shelving bank,
yeah,
and it obviously continues down into the reservoir, because every metre you go out, it's kind of another 5 or 6 foot deep, isn't it?
that's correct. And,
Oh, there's
and
another
here we've
fish.
got a roach, I would reckon, this one. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
And he's come straight into hand.
Yeah.
Look at that, it's got to be 6 ounces, that roach.
Yeah, and it's.
Well, fell in the
Yeah.
net. That's always good to put your net there, isn't it?
Messi couldn't have put that one in better, could he?
Nice one.
Yeah.
But it just demonstrates how easily and efficiently you can land and play fish like that good sized roach.
Oh, if you can get them lined up, that's the beauty of the whip, and that's why it's becoming popular now. There's lots more roach and small fish to be had on our rivers now. In my opinion, I've been fishing the rivers for 50 years, and it's full of small fish. So if you can get them lined up, then this is the way to go.
You must have been quite young when you started river fishing.
Yeah, I think I was -10.
50 years, that's quite
Oh yeah,
that's quite a bit of experience really, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It is.
So what about feed wise? You boiled it to start with, didn't you?
Yeah, I boiled it to start with dead maggots, few casters, and a few live maggots as well. And I keep topping up every fish really now, just with a small nugget of ground bait with live maggots in.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working well, because we are catching fish. And I went through a period where all I was catching was gudgeon and perch, which told me that the fish had backed off somewhere. So we tried that 9 metre line to no avail. Come back onto this and we're catching roach again. So probably the rest did it good as much as anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you keep feeding, and we might find that we can catch some fish on that 9 metre whip as well, because
Yeah,
that'll really show the whip as well, you know. Fishing 9 metres to hand like that, it's that can be a devastating method.
that's right. Yeah, I'll give that a go shortly, I think.
Well, Paul, I guess some of the folks might not realise about these specialised kind of long whips that we're using today, and particularly if they're perhaps, you know, you're more used to shorter whips for bleak fishing or gudgeon fishing, or whips that you start off fishing with as a beginner. But these kind of whips have evolved really with time, and the main advantage is to be able to fish a long pole to hand. So in this case, up to 9 metres to hand.
That's correct, yeah.
And to be able to do that, you need a pole that's slimmer in diameter and has got a different kind of action to a standard kind of pole. I mean, if you tried to fish with a normal pole, 9 metres to hand today, with a 2, 3, 4 gram float, I think you'd find it very difficult, because it'd be simply too stiff and perhaps a bit too thick to fish with.
That's correct, James, yeah. And yeah.
So that's the sort of main idea behind these kind of long whips. But as we're finding today, you're catching some really good stamp fish, good stamp roach and hybrids and that bonus bream. So it just proves that these whips have evolved really, you know, to be able to catch better quality fish as well.
Proper fishing tool.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
To me, on a day like today, we're getting a bit of a crosswind now as well, and that I find that although it's not all about being slim, the whip is a lot slimmer than a pole, and I can hold it one hand comfortably.
Yeah.
And the other hand's free to do whatever you want to do. Get your ground bait ready, your bait ready, and it's so direct. That's what I like about it. When that float goes under, you're directly onto the float. There's no elastic getting in the way, bumping fish and things like that. And when I get a decent fish, which I like to get one on cue, but I haven't then, they come straight into you, and that's the beauty of the whip, and that's what makes it so appealing to me. And it is an absolute pleasure to use, and I'm sure people watching this who've not used a whip before, they want to get out there and just give it a go, because it's such a pleasure.
Yeah, and so efficient as well.
Oh, very efficient, yeah, as the matchman will tell you. And of course, James, don't forget the strength of these whips.
Well, exactly, yeah. They've got to be strong, because they've got to be able to withstand the battering of catching lots of fish quickly, and also hooking big fish. And we've been testing these whips through the winter, and I fished with them on the Wye, where I caught some great bags of dace and roach and some big perch. And I even, when I was fishing on the Avon, had an 8-pound barbel on my prototype. So
yeah, I knew you'd get that one in, and
that really tested it. I mean, to land that fish was fantastic, because it had in such an alarming bend, but it just shows you what you can land on these whips.
Yeah, and it gives you the confidence as well then, knowing that you can get those standard size fish, and it's all up to that task.
Yeah. So Paul, you're having a look on the longer line, fishing 9 metres to hand, and you had a roach first cast, didn't you?
I did, yeah, over that ground bait bombardment we did earlier. It's absolutely perfect for it now. The wind's just died down a bit.
And you're using a bit heavy. You're using a 4-gram float on that, aren't you, just to help you get it out and cope with the depth? Yeah,
you need a 4-gram just to swing it out, really. And we, as you say, the depth is 25 foot out there at least. So it gets a bait straight down, the hook length straight down, and we're fishing.
Yeah. But again, it illustrates how important a whip can be in certain situations, because there's not, if you were fishing a pole, you'd be fishing almost 8 metres a pole anyway, wouldn't you?
There we go. So, well, you would, yeah.
Yeah. And look at it coming up through the depth.
I was half expecting a pollock there, James. It's that deep. And there you go.
Quite a few venues around the country, and certainly over in Ireland, where people are fishing such depths. So,
well, that's right. Yeah, there's a few venues I go to in winter that's this depth, and
so I think it's going to be a useful tool in quite a few different situations, not just rivers.
Oh yeah, look, it's absolutely perfect for this type of fishing.
Oops, just get out of your way.
Oh no, you're fine, James.
Well, you made that look easy.
Yeah, to be fair, it is quite straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, you can cast out without tangling it. You ship a pole out in the wind, and quite often you'll get tangles, you know. But I've not tangled up at all yet today. That could be my famous last word, couldn't it? Ooh, that was a nice bite. That was probably a roach. That was a really quick bite. And so all I do to cast, conditions allow, just like you would a bollo on a river.
Just swing it out.
Just swing it out, grabbing hold of the olivet there and just swing it out. A nice gentle underarm swing.
And then the float's nice because it's got enough shoulder just to hold on to. Yeah. But it's striking really cleanly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Up through the water.
Yeah. Yeah, they are real nice floats for this job.
You're straight into another fish, Paul.
Yeah, it's fantastic this, James. I'm so glad you got into developing these.
Well, we've already had a lot of interest in them, so it just proves what a sort of important and kind of relevant product it is.
Yeah, these are going to be a top seller for you, these. I just know it.
Well, Paul, that was frantic. It's absolutely cracking net of fish, all taken on the CP200 whip. What an absolutely beautiful venue as well. And thanks to Murfield AC for letting us fish here today. It's definitely a venue that I'd love to get back to sometime. And thank you, Paul, for demonstrating the whip so perfectly.
My pleasure, James, and what an absolutely beautiful piece of kit that is, and I'm going to be ordering two, that's for sure.
Thanks a lot. We better get these fish back, and if you want to check out the details of the whip online on our website, thanks for watching.